The Martyrdom of Polycarp. Polycarp was born a slave, according to one tradition, but adopted by a godly woman named Callisto, who taught him to love the scriptures, to memorize them, to pray, and led him to baptism. We know this because Ignatius of Antioch, another martyr in the early church, passed by Smyrna on his way to Rome, where he would face execution and death for Christ. He visited with Polycarp in Smyrna and later wrote a letter to Polycarp reminding him of the commitment that young Polycarp had made at his baptism. Through his baptism, Ignatius said, "You have enrolled in the militia Christi, the militia of Christ, the army that sheds no blood. So, let your baptism endure as your arms, your faith as your helmet, your love as your spear, and your patience as complete panoply." Polycarp had been a Christian since he was a child, but the Romans didn't get around to killing him until he was in his 80s. Whatever the reason for the delay, it is still the first recorded martyrdom in post-New Testament church history. Polycarp was an elder at the church in Smyrna. Smyrna was one of the principal cities of Roman Asia. Smyrna vied with Ephesus and Pergamum for the title First City of Asia. Polycarp was an elder in Smyrna when John wrote to Smyrna in the book of Revelation, where John writes and says, something that came to pass, from Revelation chapter 2 verse 10. "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." Polycarp's only existing writing, a pastoral letter to the church at Philippi, shows he had little formal education, and was unpretentious, humble, and direct. Such traits are especially evident in the account of his martyrdom, which was written within a year of his death. It is not clear exactly why he was suddenly, at age 86, subject to arrest, but when he heard Roman officials were intent on arresting him, he decided to wait for them at home. Panic-stricken friends pleaded with him to flee, so to calm them, he finally agreed to withdraw to a small estate outside of town. But while in prayer there, he received some sort of vision. Whatever he saw or heard, we don't know. He simply reported to his friends that he now understood, "I must be burned alive." Roman soldiers eventually discovered Polycarp's whereabouts and came to his door. When his friends urged him to run, Polycarp replied, "God's will be done," and he let the soldiers in. He was escorted to the local proconsul, Statius Quadratus, who interrogated him in front of a crowd of curious onlookers. Polycarp seemed unfazed by the interrogation. He carried on a witty dialogue with Quadratus until Quadratus lost his temper and threatened Polycarp, he'd be thrown to wild beasts, he'd be burned at the stake, and so on. Polycarp just told Quadratus that while the proconsul's fire lasts but a little while, the fires of judgment, reserved for the ungodly, he slyly added, cannot be quenched. Polycarp concluded, "But why do you delay? Come, do what you will." Soldiers then grabbed him to nail him to a stake, but Polycarp stopped them, "Leave me as I am. For he who grants me to endure the fire will enable me also to remain on the pyre unmoved, without the security you desire from nails." He prayed aloud, the fire was lit, and his flesh was consumed. The chronicler of this martyrdom said it was not as burning flesh but as bread baking or as gold and silver refined in a furnace. The account concluded by saying that Polycarp's death was remembered by everyone, he is even spoken of by the heathen in every place.